सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। Okay. So we are on verse 29 of chapter 4. So everybody can open that in their book. And just for a couple of minutes, I will just do the little summary of chapter 4, because then we know the connection. We don't forget what the chain of thought is here. So in the beginning of chapter 4, Krishna Bhagwan revealed his identity to Arjuna first time. And then he also mentioned in a couple of verses that how he's unborn, but as though taking birth. Or when he takes birth, it is like, in spite of being unborn, he takes the birth. So, and in spite of doing something, he's actually not doing anything. So, those are the two factors that he was trying to explain to him. And by knowing this process, that, you can become a karta yourself, basically. And you will know the essence of God. And this way you will know yourself. And the analogy is wave and the ocean. If the wave comes to know the essence of the ocean is water, H2O, that is same essence as me, that's what the connotation of here is. Once you know essence of the ocean, then you know essence of yourself. Same way, God and yourself. I mean, wave and, you just saw the example. So, and what happens once you know this, or you get established in this truth, you get free from bondage. That's what moksha is, and then what do you do to get this? You have to do karma yoga. Start with karma yoga, and that will culminate into knowledge. And with the knowledge, what I'm going to gain is Brahma Drishti. Because I'll see oneness everywhere. Brahma Arpana Brahmavi. And so what can we do? We have to start where we are. That's what he's telling you, basically. So that means you continue doing karma yoga, and then you add some extra practices. That's what we are learning. Different practices, whichever suits you, you can add that, and that kind of helps you in your journey. If somebody's saying, no, hey, I want to haste my journey, this is the way to do it. That add whatever sadhana is conducive to you, you add that. So we learned. And then what did he say? Main things that he talked about different sadhana was, one was controlling your senses. The 5 things that we get, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. In English, it will be like sound, touch, form, taste, smell. All these things, you do it in a controlled manner. That's what purifies your mind. So first you do it by willpower, and then you do it by knowledge. Knowledge is better, but so gradually you do it by knowledge. And then he talked about 5 different sadhanas in the previous verse: Dan, Tapa, Yoga, Swadhyay, and Jnana Yajna. Charity, austerity, yoga, Swadhyay is self-study, Jnana Yajna is, what we are doing, contemplation and reading, thinking, all those things. And trying to get over our ignorance, basically. Trying to get rid of the ignorance. So, what all these sadhana do? They purify our mind. They don't take you directly to the knowledge. So remember that, just because you're doing that. But it is a very important thing, because without a pure mind, you can never realize God. So that's why it is so important. So with that background, we go to the verse 29. Here in verse 29, Krishna Bhagwan explains the technique of pranayam, or he talks the pranayam as a yagna. And since it is still in brief, he says, a pranayam is a very powerful technique. So here he's mentioning it, but if somebody wants to do pranayam, you have to learn it from an expert. Because anything potent, if you do it wrong, it can harm you. So it's very important that pranayam, you must learn from a teacher who has done, proper training in it. So what is now, let's try to understand. A lot of people here are yoga people, so they already know, but in case you don't, just a little introduction of what is pranayama and from the scientific perspective, where it's coming from. Because, one of the great things about our scripture is it's very, very scientific. So, where it's coming from. So now we know that pranas we talk about is, what is pranas? So we know body, mind, and intellect. 3 equipments, right? Between the body and mind, it's called pranas. So prana is almost like a link between the two. And, and then the Swamiji explains that prana is a life energy in us that expresses in various ways to keep the body alive. I thought that was a great definition of pranas. तभी जब कोई मर जाता है तो बोलते हैं ना उसके प्राण निकल गए. That vital energy is gone, and that's why all the functions stop. And then in our shastras, they have divided this prana into 5 main ones, and then there are sub ones. So I'm not going to go too much in detail, but you must have heard of these 5 main ones: pran, apan, dhyan, udan, and saman. Okay, these are the 5. And if you guys are interested, maybe one day we can do even more in detail. So basically what it is that pran is like, when you say breathing in and breathing out, because you take the vital air in and then you breathe out. So you're taking oxygen and throwing carbon dioxide out. We already know this from science. And once that oxygen goes in, it does so many different activities happen over there. So, there are like a circulation of breath within, our body, and what you can say the blood gets purified, and all that science is there, and the blood gets spread in the whole body, and then all the other activities start: digestion, growing of cells. According to the Vedas, even thinking is part of the pranas. Okay, it gets pranas, thinking also get affected by it, or it is kind of thinking happens because of pranas. And all the other involuntary activities like heart beating and even something like sneezing, it has a connection with pranas. Okay, so pranas are linked between mind and body. So that's why by kind of manipulating the pranas, you can affect body and mind to a certain extent. That's why it is such a potent thing. And we also know that some doctors have admitted now that there are a lot of diseases which are psychosomatic. So like you are feeling very stressed, feeling very upset, that can trickle down to your body symptoms. And we know the moment we get some very angry and all, these headache starts and all that, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that. Mentally you don't feel good, affects physically. Physically, you sit down and rest, your mind becomes quiet also. That's why they tell you in meditation, first still your body, So these are all linked with each other, and this prana is a very potent thing in between the two. And that's why Krishna Bhagavan says that some people use these pranas to bring changes in the mind, in the thought process and things like that. And my teacher, I started learning yoga like maybe 30 years ago or whatever, about 30 years ago. And my yoga teacher, that time I didn't know much about it, but she used to always say that, if you do pranayama, it balances your emotion. Your emotions are like, sometimes you feel so overwhelmed with things and all that. So if you do that anulom, vilom and all that, so I just trusted her and I started doing it, and then I realized it does help. So at that time I didn't understand too much, but as I studied more, I understood what she meant.
So I can explain why it helps more.
Yeah, maybe what we can do is you can explain then at the last half an hour.
Yeah.
Because that'll be better, because then we will continue this. Because it's a very vast subject. That's exactly what I said. I'm just touching a little bit upon it.
Yeah.
So and these days is very popular. The yoga, that a lot of people in India, they wake up and do the asana and pranayam and all that. So it is very potent. And in this verse, he's going to talk about taking breath in and in the word is purak. भर लिया अपने आप को, पूरा कर लिया kind of. So that word is purak, and and when you breathe out, it's called rechak. And when you hold the breath in, when you take swash and then you hold it in, that's called kumbhak. So when you taking in and holding or throwing the breath out and holding, both are kumbhak, but they are called antar kumbhak and bahya kumbhak. So that means 4 activities ho gayi, right? Taking the breath in, holding in, throwing the breath out and holding it out. ये 4 चीजों को different ढंग से control करना, कितनी breath लेनी है, कितनी देर control करना है, वो that's why you need a teacher, to do all that. And then this kind of yagna, it's called pranayam yagna over in this verse. And Krishna Bhagavan says some people do that, and the idea is purify the mind, balancing the emotions. And one of the Swamis gave a very, very good example. He said, it's something like, there are certain thoughts in our head that get stuck there. You can't get it off. Either somebody hurt me, or you can be anything. Or maybe, like when we were younger, I want this thing so bad, Maybe parents don't want you to get it, or your spouse doesn't want you to get it, but you want it, and that thought gets stuck. He says that those stuck thoughts get released with pranayam, And the example he gave was a stuffy room. Suppose if हम लोग घर बंद करके इंडिया चले गए, जब वापस आते हैं और जब घर खोलते थे कैसे स्टफी होता है ना अंदर एकदम, like you have this misty smell or something. You have thrown the garbage out, everything you have done, but because the air was not circulating, it's just so according to this energy का क्या बोलते हैं, science, energy channels get blocked. That's why when they get energy healing, when they say the energy flow has to be very smooth and regulated, and when the energy flow is there, your health is there, your mind is good, it's like a good system is there. So just like when the room gets stuffy, then what do you have to do to get it nice? Just open the windows, let the fresh air come in and circulate, boom, everything comes okay. I thought this is a fantastic analogy. So pranayam helps in that, opening up the block channels and things like that. So this is a very brief introduction. And then, of course, as I said, pranayam is in between the mind and the body. So just like it helps the mind, it definitely helps the body. So your health becomes better. So it is absolutely a win-win situation. So whoever is doing it, keep doing it, get better at it. Whoever is not doing it can start it. Because you don't need, one of the great things about our Indian thing is, you don't need any other outside equipment. वो जो जिम जाते हैं ना, 1000 equipment चाहिए. Here all you need is one small asan. You sit on it and your own breath and you. Nothing else. And then another very important thing one of the Swami pointed out was that suppose if you don't know to do this complicated stuff and you have not found a teacher and also you don't know how to do, just simply observing the breath also becomes a powerful technique for meditation. And that's why in lot of meditation, that's the first thing they tell you. And basically what it does is when they say, okay, observe the breath, immediately your mind goes into the breath, so all the other thought stops. It's a very simple but very powerful technique. And in my 2 members in my family, they are Vipassana people. They go regularly to Vipassana, and that's what they told me over there. I think Kamlaji was saying their guru also over there told her about breath. So that's how this is a very, very powerful, even if you don't know anything else, observing your breath is the main thing that anybody can do, and it will be a very powerful technique. So with that background, I'm going to go and chant the verse. Any question on this? Comment, question? Okay. Verse 29. Apane juvati pranam, prane panam tatha pare, pranapan gati rutva, pranayama parayanaha. Okay, Kamala ji, you want to read today? This is your interest over here.
Yes, I'll read today.
Yeah.
So you want to do the...
Oh yeah, Sanskrit, yes. You can do the Sanskrit, that's fine. You have the book, right?
Yes.
Yeah, do it.
Apane in the incoming breath. Apan vayu jisko bolte hain. Juyati, juvvati, sacrifice. Pranam, the outgoing breath. Prane, in the outgoing breath. Apanam, the incoming breath. Apan vayu. Tatha, thus. Apare, others. Pran, apan, gati. Courses of the outgoing and incoming breaths. Rudva, restraining. Pranayam, parayanaha, solely absorbed in the restraint of breath, life energy. Others offer a sacrifice, the outgoing breath in the incoming and the incoming in the outgoing, restraining the courses of the outgoing and incoming breaths, solely absorbed in the restraint of breath.
So यहाँ पर basically it's just saying, just 1 minute, that you know they have not used those words that I told you, Kumbhak and Rechak and all those things, but that's exactly what it is breathing in, breathing out, holding the breath in, holding the breath out. This is the yagna, and some people focuses on this side, some people focus on that side, and that's what you have to learn from the teacher, what does what, and if you want to go in detail. But basically this is another type of yagna people do. Go ahead, Kamala ji. Oh, Kamala ji का freeze हो गया क्या? Her picture got frozen. Are you there, Kamala ji? Okay, we cannot hear her now. I think her computer got frozen or something happened. Maybe somebody else can read then in the meantime. If she comes back, then she can take over. I have no clue what happened. Okay, Anil ji. Sorry. Did you want to read, Sushil ji?
Yeah, I can read.
Yeah, go ahead.
Others offer as sacrifice the outgoing breath in the incoming and the incoming in the outgoing, restraining the courses of the outgoing and incoming breaths, solely absorbed in the restraint of breath. In this verse, we have a description of the technique of breath control regularly practiced by some seekers in order to keep themselves under perfect self-control when they move amidst the sense objects in the workaday world. As a sacrifice, some offer the outgoing breath into the incoming breath, and others offer the incoming into the outgoing. The latter is in the technique of pranayama called the Puraka, meaning the process of filling in, while the former is the process of blowing out, technically called the Rechak. These two processes are alternated with an interval wherein the breath is held for some time, within and without, which is called Kumbhaka. This process of Puraka, Kumbhaka, Rechaka, Kumbhaka, when practiced in a prescribed ratio, becomes the technique of breath control, pranayama. This technique is again explained here as a yajna, by which the practitioner, in the long run, learns to offer all the subsidiary pranas into the main prana. Prana is generally misunderstood to be breath, but through breath control, we come to gain a perfect mastery over the activities of the pranas in us. When very closely observed, we find that the term prana used in the Hindu scriptures indicates the various manifested activities of life in a living body. They generally enumerate 5 different kinds of pranas, which, when understood correctly, are found to be nothing but the 5 different physiological functions in every living body. They are, first, the functions of perception, the function of excretion, the function of digestion and assimilation, the circulatory system, which distributes the food to all parts of the body, and lastly, the capacity in a living creature to improve himself in his mental outlook and intellectual life.
So here you see that how kind of उसका विस्तार कितना किया है प्राणास का. Pranas is not simply just the breath. When you say prana word in Vedanta, all these things come under it. Even perception, of the world, and, function of excretion, assimilation, digestion, circulatory system, and the capacity to improve himself also is connected with prana. So that's why, मैं बोलते हैं ना, कोई एकदम थक जाता है, प्राण शक्ति कम हो गई है. And then you will see that how in these pranas have such a wide application, because in the food chain, okay, they say certain foods have higher pranas than the other. Fresh food has, for example, higher pranas than the one. Vegetarian foods has a higher pranas, because one of the things and these are all the things of contemplation, okay, that meat, somebody, I don't eat meat, so I don't know too much detail, but I just know the basic. If you keep the meat out, it will start rotting. It doesn't last for too long, But a fruit or vegetable can last a lot longer, because the prana is maintained in it. You see that what I'm saying? So when you talk about pranas, that it has so much wide application as we will go. And whenever in Vedanta they talk about, control the pranas, always remember they're not talking just of breath. With the breath, all these activities also. So when some people who through the practice of yoga, pranayama and all that, we know they can control their heartbeat, they can control their breath, they can control their brain function. And these yogis, Mahayogis, and I know there was a Swami Rama, I don't know how many of you have heard of him. He could actually stop his heart for a while. And they thought, oh my God, is he dead? But no, he came back, because he had a control over this. Through the pranas, he controlled all these things. Itna uska science advance hai. So, very important thing to remember that.
These activities of life within, about which an ordinary man is quite unconscious, are brought under the perfect control of the individual through the process of pranayama, so that a seeker can, by this path, come to gain a complete capacity to withdraw all his perceptions. This is indeed a great help to the meditator.
So basically what it is that for the higher spiritual purpose, that's what it helps you to do is, when you want to sit in meditation, you know how to completely withdraw from all these perceptions. So बाकी जो है ना, show and tell बन जाता है. Like people, India में तो I've lived near the ocean in Mumbai, and there used to be people who will dig a big hole and they will go under and they'll put sand all over them and they bury themselves. Then they will ask for money, and they will come out after a few hours, because they had done pranayama, then they knew with the less oxygen how to survive. So people do all those things, but basic purpose is to go higher in spirituality. But there are so many other benefits, side benefits, and people use it for different things. Basically,
first when I read it, I didn't understand what it means. Others offer as sacrifice the outgoing breath in the incoming. I think now I got let me see if I understood it correctly. Because in the yajna, when they do any yajna, we say, okay, give some oblation. So here, it seems like it's saying, others offer the sacrifice of the outgoing to the incoming. So it's an oblation to the incoming.
True. So it is just, कोई इस तरफ से करता है, कोई उस तरफ से, दोनों को यज्ञ बोल दिया, इसकी आहुति दे रहे हैं जैसे, और when the kumbhaka, when you stop it, so थोड़ा तपस भी हो गया उसमें. So it's just a little mystical language. Basically, it's saying, that this is also a metaphor you can use as a yagna, because yagna में आहुति देते हैं. So you understood correctly. That's what it means. Any other question, comment? Everybody okay with it? Yeah, Anil ji.
ये जो लास्ट लाइन है, come to gain a complete capacity to withdraw all his perceptions. So that's only when he is in meditation. In real life, that could mean control his perceptions.
True. So meditation में जब बैठते हैं ना, तो वो जो हमारी जो अंदर जो चल रहा है प्राणों का, उसका जो बहिर्मुखी होता है वो, I'm doing my activity. I need those प्राण शक्ति तो हर एक चीज़ के लिए चाहिए, right? अनिल जी, हमको कोई काम करना हो, कोई मेहनत करनी हो, कुछ भी करना, उसके लिए भी प्राण शक्ति चाहिए, right? So जब हम लोग एक्टिविटी दुनिया में करते हैं तो हम लोग की प्राण शक्ति बाहर खर्च हो रही है. जब मैं मेडिटेशन में बैठती हूँ तो मैं बाहर का विड्रॉ करके वो प्राण शक्ति को अंदर ले आती हूँ, प्राण शक्ति को डायरेक्ट करती हूँ भगवान की तरफ. That's what it means, And you are right that outside. And then, like I said, that प्राणायाम से बाहर की दुनिया में काम करने के लिए भी बहुत रेगुलेशन हो जाता है. बिकॉज अगर हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा इमोशनल हों, बहुत ज़्यादा अपसेट हो जाते हों, तो बाहर काम करने में भी लोगों के साथ काम करने में बहुत तकलीफ होगी. उसने ये बोला, इसने ये बोला, सारा टाइम उसी में हमारा एनर्जी वेस्ट जाएगा. वी वोंट बी एबल टू फोकस ऑन आवर गोल्स. बाय डूइंग प्राणायाम we mentally become balanced, and outside also becomes better.
And outside, that means in the outside world, you are able to not be affected by the perceptions.
Yeah, exactly. You can say that way, that you are up and down, and then you will see that in Kathopanishad it's coming now. Like joy and sorrow, because joy and sorrow, we live in duality. We were talking about baby. Baby brings a lot of joy, brings a lot of hard work too, ऊपर नीचे जाते रहते हैं दिन में 50 बार. But that's how it is. You won't get affected. You will rise above it. Yeah, true.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other question? Okay. And then Kamla ji can say more stuff in the last half an hour about pranayam. She knows a lot more about it. Okay, so what I want to do today is actually, I'm going to switch the time, more time for Kathopanishad, because the verse I'm going to do in Kathopanishad is a little bit more bigger, and it is very interesting also. So I thought I'll just do this. From next time we will do the same thing. We'll leave 1 hour for, but today I switched it. So I'm going to stop the Bhagavad Gita and we'll go to Kathopanishad. Okay? सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम.